Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. I am sitting here with Llance Kezner, who is the co-founder and owner of Keep Life Tasty for over 14 years, and he creates award-winning plant-based food and beverage products designed to help people cope with stress and anxiety, honoring the legacy of his family's values and tastes. Alongside his wife, Lori, he has serviced specialty retail, grocery, and corporate wellness programs with offerings like Millie's Sipping Broth and Auntie Gretchen's Water Essence, showcasing a thriving family business built on innovation and tradition. Llance, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be here. Thank you.
We're definitely excited to have you on the show. I mean, I am I guess I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. But before we dive into it, we do like to have an icebreaker on the show. And the question for you today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most and why?
I think I would have, when I was younger, I always envied George Jetson. I don't know why. Probably because he seemed like he had it all figured out with all the cool stuff, future stuff. And since we're living in the future now, although that chair thing that, took you through your house, I would like to have that. But yeah, George Jetson.
Yeah, I like that one. The robot made Rosie and the
Yeah, I have that. I have my Roomba, you know.
yeah, I think no, yeah, I can get behind that one. I'm still waiting for my flying car though. All right, let's slide into it. So, Llance, how would you describe procrastination? And, what does it mean to you personally?
I deal with procrastination every day. I think it's something that it's almost like a fear for me, of a fear of having to deal with something, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or something that I'm thinking it's going to, affect me in a negative way. I think that's probably where I see my own procrastination. And I've, you know, I've kind of learned to overcome some of that, but I still struggle with it on a daily or weekly basis. Once I get over that hump and I do the thing, I look at it back and I go, that was not a big deal. Why was I so worried about that?
No, I get that. Many of us have those thoughts that stop us just the last second there. So we know that there is no cure-all or silver bullet, so to speak, for procrastination. But what's been your secret sauce to?
I've tried various things in the past, making lists, making short lists, for the day, long lists for the week, ignoring those lists, forgetting that I had a book to write them in, all those things. And I think that what I did is I realized that I needed to focus on something that wasn't something that I needed to do. And I needed to do that daily. And get over that and realize that no big deal kind of, feeling. And so recently in the last 3 months, I've incorporated cold plunges into my daily routine in the morning. And so, wake up right away and go out and get into 36-degree Fahrenheit water for a minute and a half and get out and realize that was a big accomplishment. So I think it's, focusing on an accomplishment early on in the day that really has helped me. And I can attribute this idea to skiing. So I'm a snow skier, and I always try to hit the hardest runs early in the day, because after that, everything else is easy and really enjoyable, especially later in the day when you have less energy and you don't want to hurt yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I like that. You're saying basically it's like a similar way to say that sort of eat your frog. You do the hardest things first, and the right as soon as you're out there, so that you can, so the other things are more palatable. I get that.
And you don't have to think about it too much, right? Just don't think about it. Just jump right into it, literally into, 36-degree water.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, Llance, and sort of how you got to be where you are today? Because, kitchen to retail stores, it's an amazing story.
Yeah. Well, born and raised in Seattle, the Seattle area, Bellevue, Washington, actually. And I had the opportunity to travel all over the world, either for work or for leisure, starting at a pretty young age. And I think that the most influential part of my journey has been the fact that my parents were had their own business, and I grew up in a very entrepreneurial atmosphere. And I don't like to use the word entrepreneur very often. I like to think of entrepreneurs as problem solvers. And so I really think of myself as growing up in a problem solving environment. And so went to college, got some work experience, got married to Lori, and decided after 2009 that the economy kind of threw us a curveball, lost my job. And what we decided to do was, let's take one of our passions and create a business out of it. And we both were very interested in creating food items. And so we had created something in our kitchen that we used on not a daily basis, but pretty often for cooking. And it was a garlic condiment. And so that's really how we started in the consumer packaged good business, by creating this specialty garlic item and getting experience in that whole industry.
So you already, you coming from a problem solving family, you already sort of had an inkling towards doing that. But what do you think was your biggest challenge in getting that set?
I think that, having self-confidence in a direction that you're going was, is always a challenge, right? You're always, even though Lori, we, both support each other in our decisions, you still look at that and go, are we crazy? Are we nuts? And, when I describe the products that we're working on, people, would say, yeah, that's a bit crazy. It's a bit weird. But you have to have that self-confidence. So, and you have to have that on a daily basis with the decisions you're making, and not double, kind of go back and forth on your decision and say, was that the right thing? Oh no, I don't trust myself. So those really are the hardest things to get over, I think.
And what would you say was your method for sort of gaining your self-confidence? Was it just practice, actually doing it, or what was your process for actually, coming up with a way to not, double think or overthink things?
I think for a majority of the decisions, I always had a way of testing to see if my assumption was right. And if there was a way that I was confident that I could test it, then I knew that I would, be fine with the outcome, whether it was right or not, right? So I could say to myself, oh, this is going to solve the problem. Let me test it. And then it didn't solve the problem. Well, at least I know. And, at least I have some feedback. So I was always looking for some kind of feedback loop for big decisions. And then also looking back at experience and realizing that, success is built on learning, and the learning that you have to go through, the good things and the bad things, are necessary, because that's just the way it is. And thankfully, we had some learning that wasn't too costly. But it had to be done.
I like that you brought up learning, because we're always learning. But I'm curious to know, what do you think would be the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself in your journey, in your process?
So I always was brought up to, in the business environment, one of the things that I always knew that was important was selling. And selling is what the wheel, keeps the wheel going around, really. And I think that, I would see other people selling techniques, or, the selling processes that they would use. I think I tried to emulate some of them. And what I realized was that I have my own approach that connects with people. It's back to that problem solving thing. It's not really, a sales guy kind of approach. And I realized that I should be okay with that, because that's me. That's my personality, and it works, and it's authentic. I'm not trying to get people. I'm not trying to trick anybody. And I realize that that's that's okay, and it works. And so that to me, I think was really probably been the biggest surprise out of everything, is that I don't have to be like other people.
It's interesting you say that was the most surprising thing. Did you start off, many business owners, when they first start, they start off by trying to emulate a process or emulate a system. So did you just develop yours right from scratch from the get-go, or did you emulate anything?
Yeah, I think that we had a couple of fundamentals when we created the business. The number one thing was that we were not going to make something that already existed. We were going to innovate whether there was a market or not, and test to see if it would resonate. So that was the very first thing. Of course, along the way, as we started growing, we had to look at what were some examples of other companies that were maybe in a similar space, similar time frame, as far as early stage versus late stage. And then we're always comparing ourselves in certain circumstances. What we were doing was always innovating, and so we never had a direct comparison necessarily of this product versus that product.
It's interesting that you bring up comparisons. Do you think that comparison is more detrimental than it is maybe helpful in establishing a business? I mean, your business is all about innovation, but for somebody who's trying to do a business that I'm not going to say they're dime a dozen, but there are similar ones out there. Do you think the comparison is more of a hurdle than a benefit?
I think it depends on what you're evaluating in the comparison. Growing up in, a problem-solving environment, you're always looking for ways that people are solving problems and thinking around problems. One of my favorite TV shows, my guilty pleasures, is the show called Gold Rush, which is gold mining operations in northern Canada. And I love that show because they're constantly solving problems. It has nothing to do with my business, but the way that these guys think around the problems is really inspiring. And so, that to me is probably the most important thing when I'm looking at the comparison and listening to other podcasts, like I was on How I Built This, and that's famous for looking at all the problems people encountered while they were building their business. And so, those are really inspiring to me.
And just heading back to the innovative portion, what do you feel is, Millie's most innovative?
So, we tried several products. Started out with our garlic products, our water essence, a, seasoning line that was for smoked watermelons. I mean, crazy things. The most successful item that has come out is Millie's sipping broth. And that really opened our eyes. We gained some experience early on with, some of the issues that would be faced if we were going to scale the business. And so that product is really where we found the market was going to appreciate what we were doing, and we had the biggest opportunities to scale.
Did you have any products that you thought would maybe wouldn't go over well, but they happened to do very well?
Millie's, we didn't know. We didn't understand the reception. We just saw that there was, just like all the other products that we had come up with, we just saw this doesn't exist. We use it, right? We actually created it for Lori to use as a teacher. Let's see, what, and yeah. So at the time, our garlic product was what we were living on. I mean, we were selling it all over the place. And the broth was very difficult to manufacture and to make. And so we were just worried that, if this thing took off, what's going to happen? And it did. And we were just faced with, all kinds of issues with keeping it going. And, yeah, so Millie's really was that product.
And do you think that like, let's say that you were thinking about creating your company now, do you think it would have been easier or harder than when you started it?
I think building base of customers would probably be easier now than when we did it. When we started, social media was really kind of nascent. It was new. People really didn't have great strategies around that. We didn't really have great strategy around that. But what we did do is we tried to find places where we could connect with people personally. And I think, and we did that through trade shows and festivals and fairs and, markets. Today, you can do that almost virtually through live social media feeds on TikTok or Facebook or whatever. So that didn't exist back when we started. So it might be easier. I don't know. It really depends on the product, I think.
And what is your favorite thing besides problem solving? Because we know you're a problem solver. What's your favorite thing about owning your own business?
Probably, I think the favorite thing is that we have an example for our boys to show them what hard work can get you. Now, a lot of times they see the struggles that we're going through and the issues that we're facing, but, hopefully they will see the lifestyle that we're building for ourselves and appreciate that we did that. And we have incorporated them into our business at times from young age. I remember my oldest son started selling for us at a trade show when he was 13. And he was, people would come up to the booth and he'd push me away. He goes, "I've got this. I know what I'm doing." And they loved him. I mean, he wrote orders like you can't believe, because there's this little 13-year-old. And that's how I started too. I started when I was 6, selling at my dad's, Christmas tree lots. Getting those experiences in as early as possible are probably the biggest benefit that we could pass down, because it was passed down to me.
I like that, having them there, and so that the family's on board. Then they're not your typical kids that are wanting to I don't know, scroll through social media or play video games all day. They're more business oriented then.
No, they do that. Yeah. I mean, it's not like this is, fun for them. And they're not as involved now as they were earlier on, because we had a little more influence over, their daily lives back then. But now they've got their own jobs, and every once in a while they'll help out, with certain things if we need it.
And in your mind, just seeing how, and again, it's always impossible to predict the future, but do you think that it's more beneficial to try and create something of your own, or to go and find something established?
It really depends on your personality. I think that not everyone can think of something that didn't exist before, and that's okay. I think that everyone has a different perspective on things that are already out there. Can you run it better? Can you do you have a different perspective on a market that the item can go to? Those are all innovations in themselves. So creating something from scratch isn't everyone's cup of tea. And there are days where we look at each other and go, "Why did we choose to do that?" Because, sometimes people don't understand what it is, what we're doing. But I really think it depends on the personality.
And just touching on innovation, all the buzz is around AI and what it can do and what it can't do. Do you use AI in your business at all? Marketing or?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just another tool. It's like a calculator for me. Or if I hired a junior assistant to help me with certain things, I kind of look at it that way. As an example, ChatGPT, what we will do. So, our Millie sipping broth comes in a tea bag, and you steep it like tea in a mug, but you can also use it for cooking. So you can rip it open and use it like a seasoning packet. And so what we do a lot of times is we'll create a cooking video using our product. And so I'll take that video, boil it down to 45 seconds, and then put captions on the video, and then take those captions, put them into ChatGPT and say, make a recipe blog from these captions. And I'll tell you, it's scary how good the outcome is. And it would be the same if I gave that same instruction to a person. It would take them, 5 days to get back to me. They would charge me a lot of money, and the quality is about the same. So, that's just one example of how we use AI.
So I take it that you're not worried about AI, replacing, it wouldn't replace you because you have to come up with the ideas, you have to come up with the recipes, right? But do you ever worry about where AI is going?
Of course I do. I work with Amazon all the time, and Amazon makes decisions based on algorithms that they've built over the years. That's AI. Earlier on with Amazon, they reached out to us in person, not through an AI, to have our product in their store, and it stopped selling. Or excuse me, they stopped ordering it, and I kept going back to them saying, why do you stop ordering it? People are buying it. And they go, well, our algorithm tells us when to order. So I saw that it wasn't ordering. So I shut down one account with them, started another one, and started selling it myself, and never looked back. So, there are good things and bad things, but I've been dealing with the outcomes of algorithmic thinking for as long as we've been doing our business.
Well, I mean, Amazon is giant for sure, but I bet they're not your big. Would you consider Amazon to be where you sell the most, or what's your biggest out?
No, so when we started the business, we were looking at, the fastest way to get the product out into the market. When we created the product in our kitchen for Lori, so she could take it to school instead of a bouillon cube, we tried to find someone to make it for us and try to find the places to sell it. And so we connected with people that led to specialty markets, gift shops, high-end, types of places that would start selling our broth in a tea bag. And then we kept building on that over the years. As our scalability kind of got bigger and bigger, we were able to kind of take on larger and larger customers. Right before COVID, we were discovered by Weight Watchers. So Weight Watchers has 4.5 million subscribers, and they partnered with us to sell our product on their website. And that was an amazing opportunity because it was 0 points, which means that it's like the ultimate snack for a Weight Watchers subscriber. So and then COVID hit, and everyone was eating too much. They were not eating enough. They were trying to diet. They weren't dieting. Everyone was out the window. I mean, everything was going crazy, but we really went viral during that time. And we had the opportunity after that to present our product to Walmart, and we were chosen by Walmart to go in half of their stores this last October. And so now we're in, after all that, we're in about 3,000 retail locations. So we went, from making more, we went basically to get the Walmart account, we went to make more product in 1 week than we had been making in a year, in the previous years before that. So yeah, that, it's pretty wild.
That sounds like a good problem to have, but how did you work out the supply chain and quality checking and things like that? Did you leave that up to them, or did you have a hand in it?
No, it's complete. When you get an opportunity like that, it's entirely up to you to make it successful. And that comes from making sure you have the ingredients, making sure that your manufacturing is capable of supplying that volume, making sure it gets there on time, making sure that the quality is exactly or as the same or better than what it is when they tasted it. That's half the battle. The other half of the battle is making sure people know about it, making sure they know where to go get it. Because the important thing is that they want turnover of that inventory on their shelf. It's not just sitting there. And we're in the soup and broth section right next to Campbell's Soup. So, we're sitting next to literally multi-billion dollar brands, Progresso, Campbell's Soup, Knorr, and we have to sell as good or better than what they're doing. And we're new. Nobody knows us. We're a 2-person company in Seattle, Washington, in half of the Walmart stores. You talk about problem solving, it's all around. It's like a perfect round of golf all the time, every day. And it doesn't always happen.
Well, no, but I mean, you've obviously had a lot of success, and it's very inspiring to see how you've taken this, and I don't think I'd agree with your statement that you guys would be thought of less than other major corporations. They may not know you, but you've accomplished so much. Speaking of, what would your plans be over the next 5 years? Like, where do you guys want to go from here?
The product, if you think about what we're doing, it's a hot, savory beverage. Okay. So hot beverages are coffee, tea, cider, hot cocoa. Great. Where are they consumed? They're consumed at home. They're consumed in the break room of your company, on an airplane, in a hospital, in a cafe, in a catering environment. And so what we're really focused on is taking the 4 flavors that we've created, Thai lemongrass, delight pho, tomato basil, and spicy tortilla, taking those 4 flavors and getting them into as many places to consume as possible. So wouldn't it be amazing, Chris, if the next time you were on an airplane and the beverage cart came down and they said, would you like coffee, tea, or Thai lemongrass broth? What do you think most people would choose?
Well, considering the reputation of coffee on airplanes, probably Thai lemon.
Exactly. Or if you were, in a hospital recovering from some kind of surgery or something like that, wouldn't it be amazing when they serve you your food, instead of getting the hot, salty water, which they consider soup or broth, wouldn't it be amazing to have a delicious cup of pho that you make literally right in front of with fresh ingredients? So those are the things, going into a break room and not reaching for a bag of Cheetos, but having broth instead. Those are the growth opportunities that we see. And here's the other thing. We've only focused on the United States right now. There's, huge opportunities all across the globe for hot, savory beverage that, does the same thing. 3:00 in the United States is the same as 3:00 like in the UK, where you just came off, your sugar, and you want to reach, you want to go for bad snacks or something like that. So that's really where we see the fit of our product for most people, is just when they don't want to ruin their appetite, but they want something to kind of satisfy them during the day.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a vision I could get behind. You guys don't have any plans to, I guess, get on the market, like an IPO or anything like that in the future?
No, I think that, we definitely would be open to larger organizations partnering with us for distribution. I think that is a reality. You asked about comparisons, and, we look at some of the success stories out in the market for other consumer packaged goods, other food companies, and a lot of them have partnered with larger organizations to get distribution of their product into many more places. And I think that might be a viable route for us in the short term. I definitely see it as a benefit for the market. I don't think that we are kind of constrained by the amount of resources we have. So if someone came along and said, we have these other resources, let's get your product into as many places as possible, we would definitely be very interested in that.
Well, Llance, this has definitely been an interesting conversation. We are coming up pretty close to the time. Was there anything that you wish I would have asked but didn't ask, or anything that you feel we should cover that we didn't cover today?
No, I think that, the procrastination that I deal with on a daily basis, and believe me, I have a list of things that I keep, bringing over week to week. I think my biggest suggestion is break things down into small little bits. And I'm sure you've probably heard, all of the things that people do. But for me, I just break them down. Maybe one task I have to do over a 2 or 3 day period. But, afterwards, I always say that wasn't so bad. So, that's the one thing I think that, if I could maybe tell people, it's really not that bad. Even if you think it's going to be horrible, it's not that bad.
Oh, it's definitely a powerful note to end on there, Lance, for sure, because the human mind is definitely very good at inventing these horrible scenarios that aren't even remotely possible. Isn't that
right? Absolutely. Yep.
So just before we go here, Lance, what is the best way for people to learn about your products or maybe dip their toes in and try some?
Yeah. So you can come to our website, sippingbroth.com. Our product, we have a store finder. We're in 3,000 locations. We're in, like I said, about half the Walmarts in the United States. In the soup aisle, we're on Amazon. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can look us up on LinkedIn. Love to connect with people on LinkedIn, and follow us on social media. We're at Sipping Broths, plural. So there's an S at the end of the broth. Love to connect with you. If you try our product and you like it, we'd love to get your mug shot where you send us a picture of you drinking out of your mug, and the broth sloth says hello to all of you as well. So there you go.
Excellent. And just as a reminder to all our listeners, you don't have to worry about grabbing a pen or a paper. We're going to put that in the show notes so it's easy enough to find. Lance, thank you so much for being on the show. It was definitely very interesting, and really appreciate your time here today. And I'm definitely looking forward to trying some. I think spicy tortilla. If you haven't been in Central America, definitely like that. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that inspiration or motivation for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Chris.